Hello, hello. Happy Tuesday. No, it's Wednesday. I have this morning I did have a little bit of a freak out and a meltdown because I thought it was Tuesday and it's Wednesday. But and you would think like it'd be more of a freak out thinking that you lost today. I gained a day. However, I was still very confused for a while. And it has to do with my podcast episodes. And I thought that I messed it all up. So, anyway, it's fine because it is Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. We are on day 2 of Beyond the Scale. Let me just make sure I have all of my things in order here. You all are coming in. That's great to see you again. There is the chat box in at the below on the screen, and then there is a Q&A as well. I'm happy to answer any questions you have. So I will answer the questions at the end here today, and we'll go over that. And I love to hear your feedback, things that are resonating well with you, things that are hitting home for you, things that you're working on and you're hoping to learn from today. I would love to hear that. So yesterday we talked about energy, how we create our energy. And today we're talking about stress and burnout. Because this is really the Achilles heel to being able to move into weight loss, into creating your energy, and into hormonal balance. We have to be able to manage our stress. And today is like such a meaningful and deep topic for me as a coach because I know how important that today is for you. And I want you really to be able to hear it from a place of seeing yourself with unconditional love and self-compassion. No longer seeing yourself from why can't I get my shit together mentality. No longer beating yourself down or beating yourself up for having stress and having unmanaged stress and feeling like you're just in a whirlwind of emotions and constant thoughts and to-do lists all the time. I really want you to take a step back today and to be able to see yourself almost as a third person. So being able to take like that bird's eye view on you and see yourself in the light of self-compassion and self-love. Sometimes I like to refer to like a mother-daughter scenario. So taking yourself out of the thick of it right now and being able to see yourself as in like a mother's view, right? If you were your daughter, what would you say to her? Right? You would tell her she's perfect. You would tell her she's doing her best. But you'd also tell her that you know she can do better and you know that she has the potential within her to be able to do these things, to be able to live her life the way she wants to without feeling overwhelmed and stress. Because the stress is going to be there every single day, but how you think about it and how you create actions from your stress is ultimately up to you. And that's what I want you to see from today's call. I want you to see yourself with compassion and self-love. Take yourself out of the thick of it and what's right in front of you right now because you've got blinders on to your stress, right? You know what it feels like, but you don't actually see a way out because you've put your blinders on. And today we're going to take our blinders off. We're going to actually look at ourselves with love and compassion and say, what do I actually need, right? I don't need another to-do list. I don't need to beat myself up. I don't need to keep saying yes to things that are not helpful for me. And that is yes and saying things that people ask of you outside of your immediate family, with your job, but it's also saying yes to yourself on things that you don't actually want to be doing, right? So this is mindless eating, hitting the snooze button, not going outside to get fresh air, not going to bed when you said you would go to bed. Those are also boundary issues. And so boundaries are usually the core reason, one of the core reasons of our stress. We're going to talk about a few of the reasons today. So make sure and use your chat box and your Q&A for anything. And I am going to share my screen here. So let me get this up and going here. All righty. Okay, also an update on bonuses. The bonuses are all gone from yesterday. However, I still do have 6 spots left in Mindfully Well. So I'll talk more about Mindfully Well today about how it will help you with your stress. And And there's also going to be an email in your inbox after I finish the call today. So if you are wanting to join, I wouldn't wait because the spots are filling up and I only have a few left. Okay, so yesterday, just to recap, we reviewed our energy and why you often feel tired and just can't get out of that slumpy feeling. And you also noticed that I left you hanging on the edge of burnout. And that's for a good reason because it really needs its own day. It's going to be all about stress today. And this is really your Achilles heel to your weight loss, health, and energy efforts. Because if you want to lose weight, if you want to be able to balance your hormones in order to lose weight or have energy or feel better, you have to manage your stress. This cannot be a stone that's left unturned. Unmanaged stress and with health and weight loss efforts, it can sometimes yield some initial success. And that's likely happened to you in the past, but likely now, and this is probably where you are now, is that it just creates more of a physiological disaster. So what I mean by that is that you just keep trying and you just keep not making results or you go backwards. I speak a lot about this on yesterday's podcast episode. So it's the podcast with Molly. And I believe you will have an email today about that podcast with Molly, where she was trying to lose weight and she continued to gain weight. And I go into detail on what we did with her in Mindfully Well, where she is now. So you can see that that chronic stress that she had building up for so long was creating this physiological disaster that I'm talking about today. Now, that sounds very dramatic, but what's going on internally on a cellular level and with your organs and with your hormones is that it is a rather disastrous moment within you, right? It's not a calm, peaceful, productive communication system. It's a system that feels like it's on fire. And so we've got to put the fire out so that things work the way they need to work in order for you to feel better in your body, create energy, and also be able to lose weight. Because here's the thing, we go into a weight loss phase expecting weight loss, forgetting that weight loss is actually a stressor on your body. And if weight loss is a stressor on your body and your life stress is unmanaged, your body, of course, it's going to fight back. So let's talk about what happens when you're experiencing stress and how it actually affects your weight loss. Because I believe when you know better, you can do better and you can start seeing yourself with compassion and self-love instead of what's wrong with me? Why is my body like this? So let's say that you are walking through your house, you're putting some laundry away, you're feeling good, peaceful, out in La La Land. And little do you know that you have your little 7-year-old hiding behind a closet door. And when you open it, he purposely scares the bejesus out of you with a scream mask on and the costume, right? The full gear. And immediately your brain senses danger, right? So you would jump and you would scream without thought. It's automatic. This is an involuntary action, and it comes from the nervous system called the sympathetic nervous system. So we have two different types of nervous systems. We actually have three, and I am going to touch on all three of those today. But we most commonly talk about sympathetic versus parasympathetic. Sympathetic is just that fight or flight response. And there's no thought to it. Your body just does it. And so what happens is that your body will release adrenaline so that you go into that fight or flight mode, right? Because it senses danger. It wants you to move out of danger very quickly. And so what will happen is that your heart rate increases, your muscles will tense, your breathing becomes more shallow, and then glucose is actually released into your bloodstream from the stored glucose. So now you have a blood sugar spike. And then also what it does is it slows your digestion so that you can redirect your energy and move yourself away from danger. So when we're in immediate threat, your body's not worried about digesting lunch. Your body is worried about moving away from danger. And so it's going to shuttle most of your blood flow to your arms and legs so you can get moving really quickly. And this all happens instantaneously. There's no thought about it. And then after that, you're like, oh, it's just my kid being a kid. There's actually no danger here. All's good. I will just go on about putting my laundry away. But what happens after the release of adrenaline? Because adrenaline is what you feel. You feel your heart rate go up. You feel kind of tense. You feel very laser focused on what's in front of you. But after that, when that goes away, now we have the release of cortisol. And you don't really feel that release of cortisol. And it does it just in case, because your body doesn't know. It was just your kid. Now your mind knows it right now, but the rest of your body is still freaking out about that incident. It just knows that you were scared, and it wants to make sure that you're okay. Because here's something I want you to remember today. There's a few things that I'm going to say over and over again, and this is one of them. Your body always has your back. Your body is always trying to make sure you are safe and you are protected and that you are going to continue to live. Its agenda is not to make sure that your pants zip. Its agenda is not to make sure that there is a number on the scale. Its agenda is not to make sure that you have really restorative sleep. Those are your agendas, right? Your body's agenda is just to keep you alive. So now we have cortisol released into our bloodstream from our adrenal glands. And if you're looking at this show here, right here on this slide deck, the adrenal glands are just right here. So they are these little glands that sit on top of your kidneys. You don't actually need to know that, but sometimes it's helpful to know, what are adrenal glands? Why do we have adrenal glands? Where are they even in my body, right? So they sit on top of your kidneys, and they are really big. They're really in charge of how you feel day in and day out, to be honest. And they are also very much so in control over your ability to lose weight and keep it off. Cortisol is helpful. So I talk a lot about cortisol as your stress hormone. And also, if you are on the internet ever, they're going to talk about cortisol, and it's always going to be in a negative light. However, I want you to know that we have to have cortisol. We do want to have cortisol. We just want to have it at certain times. We want it released in a controlled manner at certain times in our day so that it can support your energy levels and your sleep. So this example of my 7-year-old scaring me in the closet, this is an excellent example of a sense of immediate threat. But what are we really struggling with when it comes to stress? We're really struggling with the chronic overactivation of our stress response, right? So the activation of this happening over and over and over again, regardless of our child scaring the bejesus out of us from the closet. And we're doing this same type of thing to our body through physiological factors. And this is like food stress, right? So your blood sugar goes up and down, up and down, up and down, or you're skipping meals, or just you're sitting in traffic trying to get to work, or your kid won't put their shoes on and you're running late. Your job stress, right? Being there for 8 hours, knowing that you have laundry at home and dishes at home, and you still don't know what you're going to make for dinner. And then you've got 3 kids and you've got to bring them to soccer and baseball and gymnastics all in the same night, right? These are the things that are actually creating the stress response in your body. Both will cause the stress response to be triggered over and over again, which is actually a dysfunction of your nervous system. So all of these things over here that I talked about, in addition to other life day-to-day stressors, you perceiving that these things are stressful is going to cause this stress response to be triggered over and over and over again. And now you are constantly in fight or flight. Or the other side of this that I like to talk about, because it makes more sense for most of us, is a freeze or fawn response. So fight or flight means like you fight off the predator, the whatever it is that's fighting you, right? It's for your life. Or you flight, so you run away. But to be honest, most of us don't actually have to do that. Most of us have reasoning in our mind enough to not do that. But we do have a response, especially women, where we will freeze. So that means we will just do nothing due to our stress. And this typically looks like scrolling on your phone at night when you know you should be going to bed, or scrolling on your phone when you're avoiding doing something. It can also be like just sitting in constant thoughts all the time, walking around, like doing little things here and there, but you're never actually completing something. It can be buffering with your email inbox, right? Always in your inbox and not actually doing what you need to be doing. And then it can also be fawn, which is very common for women as well. And this looks like overgiving of your time and yourself to forget about your stress, right? Trying to get away from your stress. So you take care of others over and over and over again, and you just completely put yourself all the way in the back burner. So you don't have to address the stress that you're dealing with, right? So it's kind of like a flight, but but in addition to the flight where you're just like trying to create space between you and your stress, you're just giving to others all the time so that your mind is distracted. And those are the most common ones that we'll see day to day now with especially women clients. And I want you to know that this isn't a thing that some people are dealing with. This is a thing that most of you are dealing with. You just aren't completely aware of it because you think that this amount of stress is normal because Sally, your neighbor Sally, is doing it, and because your sister-in-law does it. And you compare yourself to all of those around you and thinking, well, this is just normal day-to-day stress. I can't actually do anything about that. And you also run around with a narrative of you must work harder, you must be busy, you must do more, you must make other people more happy. You're just stuck in this chronic overactivation where the stress response just keeps happening over and over again. And that's because you really say yes to everything besides the deepest part within you that needs help. Oh, okay. So stress is really the reason why you react and why you believe that you just can't get your shit together when you say that you're to yourself over and over again. I just can't get my shit together. I don't know what's wrong with me, right? And it's because of your stress and being stuck in it. You let stress be the reason that you're reactive. You let stress be the reason that you choose the quick and easy. You let stress be the reason that you just say to yourself, I just can't do it today. I can't get up and do my workout because my stress and it's just too much. And then when you walk around with these thoughts, I'm so stressed, I'm overwhelmed, how do you think you feel? Right? You feel miserable. You feel tired. You feel like you have no energy to give. Your mind is full of stuff and it has no clarity. And then how do you think you act? Well, you don't do anything. When you are overwhelmed and when you think you're very busy, you will actually end up doing very little. And what result do you actually create? You create the result of feeling more overwhelmed, of feeling anxiety, of feeling tired because you're not fueling your body properly, of losing muscle because you're not managing your stress so you can't get up and do your workouts. And then you end up gaining body fat and can't lose it, right? It's a cycle that goes on and on and on that can be stopped at the root cause of addressing why you feel so stressed. And what you'll end up doing is just choosing those foods that are quick and easy, and then you are just reactive throughout the day instead of proactive. It's a huge part of Mindfully Well that I talked about yesterday. You have to use your mind and be proactive. Otherwise, you will always put yourself in a reactive situation. And we're walking around thinking that I'm just so busy because you are busy, right? You're filling your time with things because you think you have no option. You think this is what you should be doing. And anyone who's doing things because they think they should be often is walking around feeling like shit. Whenever you say to yourself, I should, you're also shitting on yourself. So remember that those two go hand in hand. Also, let's talk about the fact that you're undernourished. You're not actually eating the right foods that your body needs, and you're not sleeping well, and you're just trying to get through your day, right? Does this sound familiar to you? So let's talk about what adrenal burnout is, because this misnomer is out there, right? That there's adrenal fatigue, or I like to just say adrenal burnout. But either way, what I want you to know when we talk about the adrenals and them just being very dysfunctional is that your adrenals don't ever actually stop working. They don't actually get tired. They don't burn out. But what you feel is burnout. What you feel is fatigue. Your adrenals still work. They're just refusing to because they're sick of your shit, to be honest. But you feel fatigue, you feel burnout, your adrenals still work. Now, our job is to go in and to make sure your adrenals work. Remember, your adrenals are those little glands. They sit on top of your kidneys, and they are in charge of your stress response. They are in charge of energy production and energy conservation, which means they're also in charge of you losing weight or gaining weight. So There's 3 phases of adrenal burnout. And we start in the high phase. So that means we're producing a whole lot of cortisol all the time. And then we move into a dysregulated phase, which means that we have high cortisol, but we have high cortisol at the wrong time of day. And we have low cortisol again, at the wrong time of day. So this will get you feeling wired and tired, not sleeping well. But if we were to go into the doctor's office and draw your blood, they would say you have high cortisol. Even though we know your cortisol may not necessarily be high, it might just be that you're producing it at the wrong times of day. There's also a lot of nuances that come into your cortisol and how much you're using it. Are you keeping it all around? Are you hoarding it? All of that. And I do that when I do labs with somebody. But just know that you start with a high cortisol, which is you just feeling wired and tired all the time, can't sleep, go, 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 go. And I will say that most of the time, this actually feels very good for you. You feel like a rock star. You feel like you're getting so much shit done. You feel like you're on top of the world because you have so much cortisol going all the time. You're just go, 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 go. Now, what you'll start to notice then is that you don't sleep well at night. And so that might be your first symptom that, oh, I feel great during the day, but I just can't wind down at night, right? Your cortisol is high. And then we get into dysregulation where you're awake and tossing and turning all night, but then you're tired all day, right? So you're producing cortisol at the wrong time of day. And then eventually we get to low cortisol. So when cortisol is hanging around all the time, what is that telling your body? It's telling your body that things are not good here. Hold on to your resources. No burning body fat. And when she eats, be sure to store it, right? Because if you have cortisol going around all the time, your body's like, she's stressed. We got to get her away from danger, fight or flight, freeze or fawn. What does she need? What can we give her? And also, body fat is a precious resource. If you are very stressed, your body needs a lot of resources, and fat is its #1 resource. So, of course, it's not going to let that go when your cortisol is high, but it's also not going to let it go when it's dysregulated. And we're going to get too low in here in just a second. So, when your stress response is triggered too often, it actually eventually becomes numb to the response of stress. And it becomes like the boy who cried wolf. And then it becomes low. So imagine you wake up, you hit your alarm too many times, and now you're running late. Cortisol, stress response. You're rushing, you're trying to get out the door, you're trying to get your kids to put their shoes on, you're trying to throw a breakfast in their face, you're trying to just get in the car. You also grab your coffee and you don't grab breakfast. You rush to the school, you drop them off, you rush to work, you sit down, you take a breath. I got here. Fine, will work. And then your boss is a jerk. And then somebody over here is talking, gossiping, and it makes you feel weird and it makes you feel bad. And then something over here happens, and then you forgot that you have a meeting, right? So now you took a break, but now you're back into the stress response. And then we have the hustle and bustle of the 5 p.m. mark where you're like, okay, I gotta leave, I gotta pick up the kids. I don't know what I'm gonna feed them, but we have 12 practices tonight, and I'm gonna make sure that I get all this done. So you do all that, right? You rush, rush, rush. If you eat, it's something fast, it's something quick, it's something easy. You get home, you are tired, you are exhausted, you're very crabby and reactive, and you try to crash only to take an hour for your mind and your body to wind down. You wake up, you do it all over again. You're producing cortisol all day long. And when this happens all day long, and you're never actually using your cortisol, because let's be honest, any of these situations do not require cortisol. Cortisol is required if you need to, or abundance of cortisol, right, is required to fight or flight, to move, to use it. But now it's sitting around, it's being circulated all day long. And so pretty soon your body is very smart. And it's like, she's creating all this cortisol, but she does nothing with it. I'm going to help her out. I'm going to take this cortisol and I'm going to deactivate it. And then you feel tired on top of tired. And then it deactivates it. And then it also stops responding to cortisol. It stops responding to stress. Sorry. So it notices like you're perceiving stress, but I'm not going to give you cortisol. I'm not going to give that to you because you use it inappropriately. So now I'm going to keep all of it and I'm not going to produce it for you because this just doesn't make sense. I'm not going to keep giving you cortisol if you don't use it. And so now you're producing barely any cortisol, right? You're producing enough to get you up and out of bed, to get your stuff done during the day, but you feel like garbage the whole time. You feel like you have weights on your feet or you're wearing a weighted vest. Everything feels hard. Everything is uncomfortable. You don't sleep well, even though you're so tired. You're always at the short end of your stick. You don't know why you feel this way. And then we still ask our bodies to try to lose body fat. And the thing is that when you were really high in cortisol, you will start to store body fat out of protection, right? Because that's a very precious resource. And then over this time, your body becomes numb to the cortisol. And so it produces very little cortisol out of protection. And now the weight that you gained during the high stress spot, now that becomes impossible because what you put on in stress now means that your body has completely downregulated your ability to use and produce energy. And like I said, it feels like you're walking through quicksand. It feels like you have 5-pound weights on your legs. It feels like you have a weighted vest on. Low energy production also means low adrenal output. So that means low cortisol, low hormone production, and then low hormone production also means no ovulation. It also means very little estrogen or very little estrogen detoxification. And then very little testosterone, which means that you will feel tired and aging becomes an accelerated process. Rather than going deep into hormones today, because that is a whole other topic, I just want you to see that there is a direct correlation from your stress to your hormones, which can make weight loss incredibly difficult or just simply non-existent. In addition to you trying to cope with stress in the unhelpful ways that I talked about before, those reactive ways, right? You're coping with your stress with eating your kids' snacks, with grabbing chocolate, with hitting up the drive-through, with saying it's just this one thing. I deserve it. I worked really hard today. I just feel so miserable in my body. I just need to find one way to feel better. I'm going to have a glass of wine, right? These types of things and how you're trying to deal with your stress are putting your body in even a worse spot. This, in a nutshell, is adrenal burnout. So that was a little bit Debbie Downer, but I have to have you see what is actually going on. This is not just about your weight. It is really about your health and how you show up in your days. It's about the joy and the presence of your life and not just going through the motions, which I understand at this point you're going through because of your intense fatigue. I see and I feel you so deeply. I have been here. I know what it feels like to be so tired and to not know why. And I have helped hundreds of women increase their energy by simply managing their stress. These stressors are far more dangerous to your health and are causing your weight loss to just be increasingly difficult. And that's the thing that you pay most attention to. But what I want you to see is that there's so many things under the hood that are going on as well. Weight gain, hormonal imbalances. The hormonal imbalances will end up making PMS symptoms increase. So having very heavy periods, having acne, having uncomfortable, painful periods. That also causes a disruption with your gut and some bloating, and also having heavy periods, but you can also start to skip periods or having periods very close together. They can also cause more hair loss and have increased muscle weakening, and then also intense fatigue. And what I want you to see about these things that I just listed is that they're not problems. These are your symptoms. Symptoms of out of control stress, which, by the way, is very possible to gain control over. The problem isn't your kids scaring you in the closet. The problem is that you're saying yes to things that you want to say no to. You have no boundaries for yourself, and you're not managing the day-to-day stress. You're letting it just consume you. The problem is that you're not taking the pilot seat in your own life and when you're stressed and deciding to take responsibility for the things you do have control over, which, by the way, is yourself. It's the easiest thing to have control over, and yet you walk around all day thinking that you don't. And you 100% do. And I want you to see that from today. Because you can't always change or take away the stressor. That's not the goal, right? This would be changing your life circumstances. And that we can't get rid of your kids, we can't get rid of your family, we can't get rid of your job or the finances you worry about or your in-laws, whatever is causing you to feel like this. The goal is actually to become aware. The goal is to become conscious and not reactive. And I teach you this in Mindfully Well. Even if you never join Mindfully Well, I want you to start asking yourself these questions that I work with my clients on with their stress every week, most days. The questions are, and if you're on here live, I want you to get out your pen and write these down. If you're listening to the replay, I want you to get out your pen and write these down because you need to know these stress awareness questions. These questions will change your life. First, how do I know I'm stressed? So, what are the actions that you are doing that would demonstrate to you or anybody else watching you that you're stressed? So, for me, it's dark chocolate. There's dark chocolate in my freezer. And whenever my kids are driving me crazy, I am grabbing that dark chocolate to just make their crazy feel a little bit better to me. It makes me feel better, but it is an action coming from stress, coming from a thought that I'm creating about them and their behavior. I also definitely notice it when I'm in the car. I will speed, I will swear in the car, and I have very little patience when I'm in the car, when I am stressed, right? So knowing your actions that, oh, hey, I'm doing this thing. This is a classic symptom of me being stressed. What am I stressed about? Why am I feeling this today? What's actually going on? Versus you just trying to push through and completely ignoring it. Now we're bringing it into your conscious mind. Where do I feel stress? It's important to build this mind-body connection. So many times we try to disconnect our head from our body so that we don't have to feel things. But you need to feel things so that you can have communication going from your mind and your body. When you understand your body and your body understands your mind, everything is so much better. So where are you feeling stress, right? Common places to feel stress in your shoulders and then all along your spine, all the way down to your sacrum. Sometimes we'll feel it in our jaw, our throat, but it's usually somewhere in here because we have lots of energy centers located within our torso. And these energy centers can be they communicate with you. They tell you things. But the thing is, like, you're just not listening to them. And it's full of information that you can start hearing and start creating action from instead of continuing to move on with this stress over and over again. Third, why am I stressed? Here is a hint. The stress is usually never the circumstance. So them outside of you making you feel a certain way. You are usually the problem. And the problem is how you're thinking about this circumstance, how you think this circumstance should be different, how you think this circumstance should be easier. Why is it a problem? All of these people, all of this stuff in your life isn't actually a problem. The only problem is how you think of it. Now, there are some situations that are unicorn situations that they do have a little bit different effect on you. But for the far majority of the problems you have day in and day out, they're not the problem. The problem is how you think and feel about it. But here's the great news is that we can change that. We can't change your circumstances. We can't change how people act. We can't change how people think, and we can't change how people feel. We cannot change the actions of the world around us, but we can change ours. And that's where it starts. And that's the best information I can give you today. And then fourth, is this a problem? When you figure out if this truly is a problem, and when I say a problem, is this a problem that you really need to have a stress response for, right? There are very few problems in your day to day that actually require a stress response. I like to think about stress responses really only involve blood. So my kids are bleeding and they need immediate attention from me, something in that realm, right? Or there is a huge time barrier on this that I had no idea about. These things very rarely happen. So, the honest truth is that most of the things that I feel are stressful about my day are not problems that require a stress response. If it does require a stress response, go ahead and use that stress response. It's built into us for a reason. We should use it when we need to. But most of the time, it's not. And then you can have that honest conversation with yourself that this just does not require a stress response. And to be honest, it really doesn't even matter at all. So I'm going to move on, right? So those 4 questions are the pillars to being able to create awareness, because awareness has to happen first. So rest and digest, or fight or flight. So there's the rest and digest part of our nervous system, which is your parasympathetic nervous system. And then there's the fight or flight, which is the sympathetic, which is the fight or flight. When you're always in a stress state, you can't be in a rest and digest state, which is the other side of our nervous system, where you get to feel energy, where you have restorative sleep, where you feel you can actually be present and have joy and ease, when you can finally lose weight, and then when you feel confident. When you are in fight or flight, you're overwhelmed. Your body perceives danger. You have restless sleep. You have a monkey brain. You're worrying. You're yelling. You're very reactive. You do not get these things that are in rest or digest. It's not both. It's one or the other. When you begin to create awareness, which is always the first step. So the awareness questions I told you before, this is always the first step. Your day-to-day stress, you will start to become in charge of it instead of being a victim to it. You will start to be able to put your body naturally into a rest and digest state on purpose and with intent, instead of sitting in reaction over here. And then what do you think happens in rest? You get to feel energy. You get to sleep really well. You get to be productive. You get to be happy. You get to have deep restorative sleep, feelings of joy, contentment, confidence, understanding yourself and building trust and being patient. All the things that you told me what you want. And you'll finally be present with your family instead of crabby or reactive or annoyed, because your mind is cluttered with overwhelming thoughts and the worry that you'll never feel good again. How often do you take your frustrations of stress and overwhelm and being mad at yourself for feeling the way you do out on your family, only to feel guilty 5 minutes later? What I want you to see from this is that you are not a bad mom. You are not out of control. What you have is a stress perception problem, and this is very solvable. What if you could take the worry off your shoulders, that you don't have to keep doing this over and over again? What if it's truly possible that you don't have to feel this incredible stress and overwhelm every day? I know it's easy to walk around thinking that there's something wrong with you. I know that it feels like nobody gets it. Your husband doesn't get it. Your significant other doesn't get it. Your kids don't get it. Your boss is still a jerk. But I know and I understand how you feel. I know what is in the way of getting you feeling better, and that there's nothing more validating than being in Mindfully Well with a group of women who are all in the same boat for stress as you are. You can live a better life without feeling like this. When you do that, you get to show up like you. You get to show up as the family that notices how patient and calm you've become. I actually had 2 clients in the last month that told me that their husbands encouraged them to rejoin for the next round of Mindfully Well, because they have noticed so many positive changes in their significant others. This is more than weight, my friends. This is you showing up as the version that you want to be in your life, in your family, in your community. And when you feel good, everyone else is well taken care of. But you need to come first. Mindfully Well or rest and digest is part of Mindfully Well and my coaching practice. Because if you can't do that, then we're not going to lose weight together. End of story. Or it'll be very short lived. You'll lose some weight, you'll gain it back. And you've done that before, right? You know that. And you know that if you've sought out other programs or even having a coach, whatever it is, they'll give you a plan and they'll tell you to manage your stress. They'll say your stress is a problem. You should probably do something about that. Or if they don't say anything about your stress, what I want you to know about that is it's a big old red flag because they do not understand your physiology, and it's incredibly insensitive to take someone's money when they know they cannot produce a result without giving them what they actually need, which is stress management. I am passionate about this work. Even if another program did in fact tell you to manage your stress, let's be honest, you wouldn't know what to do. If you did, you would have done it by now. You're not dumb. You're smart, but you've just never taken the time to actually apply this to your life. I will help you. I will help you apply this to your life so it works not only while you're with me, but for the rest of your life. Changing how you think is something you get to take with you for the rest of your life, and you apply it to everything around you, and everything is better. Plus, you want the feeling of weight loss, remember? Weight loss won't feel great if you're running around with your head disconnected from your body, and how you're still talking about how you're overwhelmed without any of the awareness of what to do and how to help yourself. You know that feeling, right? And I'm not just going to tell you to manage your stress, I'm actually going to help you. So, where do you start? You can start today with the stress awareness questions that I just told you. You have to be willing to ask yourself those. And you have to find out what you want and what you're willing to let go of that doesn't involve changing all the circumstances in your life. What about you are you willing to change so that you can feel better in your body? Is it perfectionism? Is it trying to be everything for everyone, but actually not doing a good job at anything? Saying yes to everything but yourself? Toxic productivity, never being able to rest, even when it comes to your workouts, right? Feeling like rest days, you're definitely going to lose everything you worked for, which is just bananas. How about busyness? How about saying no to certain things and saying yes to other things? We have to stop our emotional world from hurting our physical one. There's always a reason why we ebb towards stress, and it's because of a feeling, wanting to feel a certain way or desiring a feeling. And you're just looking in the wrong place to produce the feelings that you want to have. Listen, I'm going to teach you tools in Mindfully Well to also be able to manage how your body feels with stress. And one of those is, the common ones that you hear of: journaling, meditation, breath work, saying no, sauna, yoga. We're going to do that, and also establishing boundaries. But here's the thing. You can meditate until the cows come home, but if you don't deal with the things going on within you and with your life, the meditation will end up just being a highly disrupted 5 minutes with yourself. You have to start being aware of your stress and no longer turning a cheek to it. What in your life is something you want to start saying no to? What in your life is chronic stress that needs to be addressed and can stop putting it off? It's not easy. That's why we all struggle with this. And it won't go away, and that's not the point here. The point is to make it manageable and to get out of the constant fight or flight and into rest and digest, where you can live with joy, peace, health, confidence, trust, contentment in your body. So make sure and answer those stress awareness questions. And I want you to do that like 5 times today and see how differently you start to think about your circumstances. So enrollment is still open. The bonuses are gone. However, I still, as of right now, have 6 spots left in Mindfully Well. When you join, you get to start today. I have information up ready for you. You will have modules you can start. I have orientation calls scheduled for next week. So we're going to get you up and we're going to get you going. and we're going to get you feeling so much better in your body. The price is $3.99 a month for 4 months, which is a killer price for this kind of program. And you also can use HSA or Flex if you have that ability or have that availability to you. So tomorrow we're going to break down mindset plus and understanding yourself and why you do the things you do. Plus, I'm going to teach you one of my other favorite things, which is time and how to get your time back this summer, because that's what we want in the summer, right? We want time and we want freedom. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do that tomorrow. So we have one more day left. Make sure and come back and see me for that. So let me stop sharing this. I don't think I had any comments or questions. If you do, make sure and put them in there. I will address the question I've been getting often is, do labs cover the cost of the program? And they do not. And the reason why I do that, because I definitely could, front load the cost of labs in there, but I already want to run my program at the most affordable price for you so that everyone wins. And not everyone needs labs. In fact, I'd say I run labs on less than half of my clients. And so I don't want to have people paying for labs that don't actually need labs. This is just a customization. If I feel like labs would accelerate your results, get you feeling better sooner, and give us clarity on what might be going on, then I will suggest it. And even if I suggest it, it's not a hard, you have to say yes. There's almost always things that we can be doing to get you feeling better without labs. So that's the lab question. Also, if we do want to do labs, you can pay for labs with your Flex account or your HSA, as well as the lab cost is generally around $350 to $370, depending on what labs we need. And I order them, but they are wholesale. Like there's no upcharge for me to order them for you. There's no upcharge for me to read them for you, which many programs will do. They order labs and then they do an upcharge on that. I do not. I include the analysis, the recommendations, the time it takes to do labs on my end. I include that in the cost of your program because I believe in getting you your results, and you are paying me for the time that it takes for me to create your results, no matter which way that is, if it's with labs or if it's without labs. So don't let labs hold you back. Labs are a nice to have. They're not a complete necessary thing. And if we feel like they're best to use, I'll suggest it. If you don't want to do it, then I will let you know what we will do instead. So don't let that be a factor. Okay, so I don't see any questions. Alrighty, my friends. If you do have questions, you can always reply back to the emails in your inbox, and I'm in there. And also, I will see you tomorrow for our last day together, and I will see you at noon Central Standard Time. Have a great day.